The Gloucester Cup dates back to the mid-40s. Nowadays, the event is hosted by the Singleton Infantry Centre in the Hunter Valley. It's the ideal site to test the Army's frontline troops. The Cup was the exclusive battleground for the top soldiers of each Australian regiment, but this year there was a change. The competing teams, or sections, were selected at random.
We come back off leave and we were told the Duke Gloucester Cup in 5 weeks, and that was it. It was pretty much a big shock for the system.
The Army's top brass wanted a measure of the overall proficiency of the regiments, the ultimate test, the ultimate obstacle course, to finish 6 gruelling days of endurance trials in the field, without a doubt the toughest obstacle course in Australia, designed by this man.
How do you feel about it when you watch these guys struggling through the course?
Absolutely horrible. I've done a lot of this myself and I don't envy them at all.
You might call it the military equivalent of the Olympics: swimming and diving, parallel bars, cross-country, hurdles, and of course, shooting. The winning team won't get a medal, just the satisfaction of saving the honour of the regiment and a rewarding holiday. For the Army experts, it's the best assessment of the infantry's abilities outside actual combat.
They've attacked it very well, and I'm very happy with the fitness level. We'll learn some lessons about areas of the military skills that need improving, but overall they've approached it with great gusto.
This year's winners, for the second time in a row, the 6th Royal Australian Regiment based in Brisbane. Tom Hilston, NBN News.
The accident occurred shortly before 11 this morning. Police believe the woman was travelling south in a line of traffic. They allege when a car in front slowed, she applied her brakes. Her car then veered to the right and slammed into a northbound vehicle. It's believed the woman was killed instantly. With this, the second serious accident on the highway in as many weeks, police are urging drivers to take care.
Road safety, be careful. As I said, we might be speaking out of text on this matter. We don't really know the full account of the circumstances.
Traffic on the New England Highway was blocked for a short time while police and emergency services cleared the wreckage. Police are investigating the cause of the accident. At this stage, they haven't released the names of those involved. Including our healthcare system, and Armidale's Hospital is no exception. According to Board Chairman David Hegarty, the hospital's operating costs are currently being assessed. That means reviewing its services, and certainly not closing them as many people seem to believe.
The Board, with the help of staff, is trying to maintain and improve services, make the best use of resources in the worst economic circumstances this nation has faced in the past 60 years.
Mr Hegarty says a review of pathology services across the region is underway to assess their efficiency and effectiveness. He says such reviews are likely to start rumours, but wants to ensure patients that everything is being done to maintain or to better the vital service provided to 40,000 people across the region.
It is critical that this hospital maintain its traditional services and improves and consolidates them.
Dozens of police converged on the residents at Broughton Street at about 9:45, evacuating neighbours and redirecting traffic to the scene. Police believe the incident was apparently sparked by a domestic dispute.
Police received a 000 call that shots had been fired in a house in Broughton Street, Kempsey. Upon arrival at the house, police were confronted by a man on the veranda with a firearm.
They confirmed that the 19-year-old gunman possessed an arsenal of weapons, including 2 shotguns and 2 rifles, one a .303. The standoff continued for most of the day as police waited for a negotiating team to fly in from Sydney. The gunman's 21-year-old girlfriend was also in the house of her own free will, apparently to dissuade the man from committing suicide.
There is fears for his safety, simply because he has fired 1 shot and we just don't know what his state of mind is at this stage.
The incident ended without bloodshed, the 19-year-old man surrendering peacefully. He was later charged with firearm offences at Kempsey Police Station and will appear in the local court on the 13th of this month.
It took 5 or 6 years to get the degree, and then to not be using it, it feels like a total waste.
For about 15% of Australia's engineers, all those years of study and training have proved to be no insurance against unemployment. Some of those seeking work attended this employment seminar hosted by the CES and the Institution of Engineers Australia at Newcastle City Hall.
We're aiming to give them information on what the CES can do for them in terms of services and programs, but also to find out the types of skills or the types of training post-degree or post-certificate that these engineers feel that they need to improve their job prospects.
About half the participants indicated they'd been unemployed for more than 6 months, victims of hard times.
I think the economic recession hasn't discriminated amongst the skilled or semi-skilled or unskilled people, but I think other factors, perhaps such as the earthquake, which may have actually brought engineers to Newcastle for reconstruction work, they may have chosen to stay, and perhaps we're seeing the effect of that now.
Annette Booth is a chemical engineer whose skills have been lying idle for more than a year.
It's important to have engineers in the workforce, and to see so many people here who haven't got jobs, it's a total waste for the economy of Australia.
Scott Bevan, NBN News.
Surgical gowns and syringes are some of the waste generated by a hospital, and much of it is contaminated. Newcastle's John Hunter Hospital is trialling an innovative method of getting rid of this rubbish.
Myself and other hospital administrators around Australia are looking for a cost-effective solution, plus an environmentally friendly solution to waste problems.
Most medical waste is treated by high-temperature incineration. However, this revolutionary system microwaves the waste. Sealed garbage is fed into the mobile unit. It's shredded and moistened by steam. It's then heated to 95 degrees Celsius with the same technology used by a domestic microwave.
The waste can effectively be disinfected to a standard which is better than household garbage, and can be then readily accepted into the landfills.
The system was pioneered in Germany and is in use in Europe and the United States. Cleanaway hopes it will get the green light to operate it in Australia, but that depends on the results of the Newcastle trial. Both the New South Wales Health Department and the Environment Protection Authority are interested in the outcome.
We hope that this trial will show that there are no harmful air emissions coming from this process, and that the material that is produced by it will be suitable to go to the normal council landfill.
The Hunter Health Unit will prepare a report on how effective the process is, the risk to operators and its acceptability for landfill. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
The blaze extensively damaged 6 heritage-listed buildings in a conservation area that dates back to the 1890s, just after Charters Towers was founded. Authorities estimated total damage at $1 million, but they say it's impossible to put a value on the irreplaceable buildings, which were extensively damaged when fire followed a series of mystery explosions just after 3 a.m. 2 of the buildings, housing a Coles Fossey store and a hair salon, were so badly damaged they will have to be demolished. 3 people in a second-floor flat of one of the burnt-out buildings escaped with their lives, although 1 man was admitted to the Charters Towers Hospital with minor burns.
The Land and Environment Court action stemmed from a 5,000 litre diesel spill at the Broadmeadow Locomotive Yard in Newcastle in October 1990. The SRA was fined $15,000 in the action brought by the Hunter Water Corporation. Now State Rail is appealing the decision. Area Manager Bruce Hall says the fine was light compared to a possible maximum of $40,000, but the decision opens new legal questions which the Rail Authority wants clarified.
The issue raises questions about personal liability, that is responsibility for our managers, for our employees generally in the environmental area. And we want to ensure that we gain a clear understanding of what level of responsibility they have in this matter.
To the taxpayer, the spectacle of 2 government bodies waging a costly battle in the Supreme Court might seem unnecessary. But Mr Hall says the issue has wider relevance.
The issue isn't between us and the Hunter Water Corporation who took us to court. It's an issue of a legal point. The concern we have is that this has wide-ranging implications, not only just for State Rail but to industry generally.
The appeal is listed for hearing in October.
According to the union, an important watchdog has been put on a leash. As seen in this union video, some plumbers can cut corners. On this job, sewage pipe levels are running the wrong way. The pipes don't even meet.
Now, I'm not casting any aspersions on the trade, but nonetheless, you do have some cowboys in all industries.
The union says from this month, official sewerage inspections on new developments will only involve spot checks, not every job as in the past. This comes after Hunter Water Chief Paul Broad cut his staff of 21 plumbing inspectors to 7. The Hunter Water Corporation admits they are moving to random checks, but according to Paul Broad, the old system of heavy policing just wasn't working.
We find that it's better to check people when they don't expect that you're coming. What we found in the past, if we had an inspection on a certain day, there was no guarantee the following day that the work would necessarily be done as they said it was.
Paul Broad says anyone who has paid the $30 fee for an inspection but misses out can have their money refunded. Meanwhile, the Building Services Corporation will take on most of the watchdog responsibilities, ensuring that plumbing jobs are up to professional standards. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
From the top of the third green at Cypress Lakes, a stunning view of the Hunter Valley, its vineyards and rural landscape. You might as well enjoy the sights from here because the rest of the course is a daunting prospect to say the least. The multi-million-dollar complex has gone ahead in leaps and bounds since the first sod of soil was turned in the virgin bushland, transforming the scrub into a magnificent front 9 holes. It is easy to figure out that the architect had carte blanche.
The architect was just let run riot here. He built the golf holes that he felt would best suit into the land, and then obviously we have development that'll be a country club, a hotel and villas, etc. in the future.
Well underway is the second 9, which should be in play by Christmas.
At the back 9 here, we've found that some of the fairways have grown a little bit quicker than others, and we expect that later this year, approximately October, November or thereabouts, and that's totally dependent on whether we'll be playing the 18 holes.
One look at the course and you would argue that it has been designed with the better golfers in mind to be able to host international tournaments. While that may be true, Cypress Lakes is also a course to suit all levels of little white ball wallopers.
We've managed to do it here with anything up to 6 tees on holes, and that then allows that there is a good area to drive it to. From the championship tee, that good area is 225 odd metres, 230 metres from the tee. From the forward tees, that then becomes a more realistic area for the average player to play to.
The slickness of the side soon had Croatia under pressure, and after 10 minutes, a beautiful pass to Ernie Taipei didn't go unrewarded.
Goal for Australia!
2 minutes later, Warren Spink twinkletoed his way past the last line of defence to nail the Socceroos' second goal.
Can he get a pass to keeper again? Amazing!
The comfortable lead, though, didn't rattle the Croatian team. In fact, for a period, it was the Aussies who appeared to panic.
Shot, and Zabika does well to save.
2-1 at half-time. That early Socceroos cohesion deserted them until Croatia's Igor Stimac was sent off in the 73rd minute after a second offence. Igor wasn't convinced, but finally left the field. A man down, his side was soon found out, and how.
Looks up and he scores! What a goal from Jason!
For the first time in 16 internationals, Australia was able to score more than 2 goals. The final game in the series will be played in Sydney on Sunday.
For many years, tourists have come to Taree, spent their money and gone, without much notice being given to just how large a contribution they make to the city's economy. Well, now it's time, according to Mayor Les Brown, that someone did. Jointly funded by state government and council, being done to identify the demands of visitors and ways of improving the area's tourism appeal.
Last year, the Bureau of Statistics tells us that tourism was worth $92 million to the economy of Taree. Taree itself, the town of Taree, is not a destination. It's a transient place where people come. It has the potential to be a tremendous commercial centre to service. But we have some lovely coastal villages within our local government area, and they are becoming increasingly attractive to tourism.
Sydney-based consultants are currently compiling the study. It's hoped results will be known within the next few months, with a tourism plan in place by the end of the year. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
Around 870 former teammates, family, workmates and friends from all over the world made the pilgrimage to the Dragon's Den for a testimonial to a footballing legend, Phil Hawthorn, who is suffering leukaemia. Phil played 21 international rugby union matches before switching to league, where he went on to captain his country. Present was the entire Newcastle High School team of 1959, of which Phil was a member, and members of both union and league in their hundreds. One of the organisers was Johnny Raper, and as usual, he was a star turn. Thank goodness the Chook could play football. Home from hospital after a second round of chemotherapy, which hopefully will see an end to his illness, Phil had that look in his eye that said, "I'd love to be there."
I certainly would have. 870 tickets sold. And it would have been nice just to acknowledge those people and thank them for their support.
Phil has always rated Ken Catchpole the greatest halfback he ever played with, and today that same man was glowing in his praise towards his former 5/8.
We, his fellow rugby tourists, are proud of Phil Hawthorn.
We are proud of the part we played in the development, not only of his rugby skills, but the development of Phil Hawthorn the person. Rugby provided that opportunity and more. The joy of participating at the top level, the euphoria of success, the disappointment of defeat as part of a team, and as importantly, as an individual performing below your own expectations.
Such was the gala show that more than $60,000 was raised for Phil and his family before lunch, with the final figure likely to exceed $100,000. While humble in his thanks, the fighter that Phil Hawthorn is had a message for those who are also suffering.
If they do whatever their doctors tell them and follow the prescriptions specifically, they'll come through. They'll come through with a strong mental attitude. I think that's certainly helped me.
Jim Gallagher gave Corindai the early lead, being on target with a great penalty kick. And then the blue and whites of Corindai swung into attack, and it was only desperate defence by Tamworth that denied the visitors 5 extra points. Gallagher kicked another penalty to maintain the lead for Corindai, but both teams were intent on throwing the ball about, and a great tussle unfolded. Alec Wiseman kept Tamworth in the match, and the locals were a little unlucky not to grab a try to level the scores after their backline slipped into gear to stretch the defence of Corindai. The weekend's round leaves Corindai on top from Moree and Barraba, with Walker coming into the top 4. Tamworth are 1 point out of the finals race, with Narrabri and Gunnedah still in with a slight chance of making the playoffs. Numbers were down a little for this year's Merewether Surf Club's Coastline Capers run, an 8.5 kilometre jog from the number 4 Lee Wharf on the Newcastle Harbour, along the foreshore, up through the picturesque King Edward Park and down the hill to Merewether. The final section a sprint for the tape. 130 athletes made the journey and conditions were perfect, although the steepness of the park didn't allow the runners to really enjoy the scenery. It was just a hard slog. And it was a youngster from Tamworth, Daniel Green, who breasted the tape before the rest in a smart time of 27 minutes and 5 seconds. The first female home was Warners Bay athlete Natalie Skelly in 34.03. Sydney's James Baker won the juvenile boys section and Megan Corwell the girls. .179 starters played an 18-hole stroke event with golfers from all along the eastern seaboard chasing the coveted crown of Grafton champion. Michael Brennan of Coralban crashed with a 78. Grafton's Tony Blackadder also failed to make an impression, but near neighbour Tony Ryan of Maclean, off 2, finished with a 1 under 71 to run second. The winner was Todd Riley of Coralban, who shot a 2 under 70 to grab the title.
The prestigious awards recognise excellence in the state's tourism industry, acknowledging companies, organisations and individuals. It's the 9th time the awards have been staged. This year the Foster Taree area featured strongly. Local international sporting event, the Nutrametics Ironman Australian Triathlon, gained the most votes in the significant local festivals and special events category. Also a notable success, Clarendon Farm Holidays, which were given the Budget Accommodation Award, as well as gaining a finalist berth in the Specialist and Motoring Accommodation categories. The cosy homestead, nestled amongst the hills at Failford, is renowned for its unique farm experience and homely accommodation. Other attractions on the North Coast gained distinctions, including Port Macquarie's Fantasy Glades and Sea Acres. Dorrigo's Rainforest Centre gained recognition in the Tourism Development section, while the University of New England's Northern Rivers Centre for Tourism was awarded a distinction in the Industry and Training category. In a weekend of scorelines which resembled a cricket competition, it was a runaway victory for the Port Macquarie boys at home. They downed their geographical neighbours in a convincing 43-8 hammering. Miller and Avery both scored 2 tries. Moylan, Kempwick and Cameron also crossed. Byron kicked 7 goals. Results from the rest of the weekend's play: Wingham defeated Taree United and Fosterton Curry ran away victors over Taree Old Bar.
ICI's project team signalled the start of the construction project with the allocation of the first part of a $250,000 community contributions package. The first grant of $25,000 will go to Cessnock District Rescue Squad for emergency equipment. Other grants will be made to the local library, community centre and education groups. But the most significant impact on the region will be the jobs created throughout the project.
Overall, through the life of the project, that will mean around about 200 positions, and then further on with the ongoing operation of the site, around about another 70 to 100 positions.
ICI manufactures about 200,000 tonnes of explosives for the Hunters mining industry each year. The Mining Services Technology Park will direct ICI research into new areas as diverse as road construction and the charges used in motor vehicle airbags. Scholarships are also being offered at Newcastle University in associated research fields. The Technology Park is to be built on a site west of Mount Sugarloaf in stages over the next 5 years. Even at the completion of construction, the Technology Park will be hard to discern from the roadside, less than a dozen buildings scattered over a 250-hectare site. The company forecast that the site will become a world centre of excellence for explosives research.
The work that occurs in Australia to do with open-cut mining and also the use of explosives really puts us in a world leadership position.
The first stage of the project, sealing and construction of access roads, is expected to be underway within weeks. Tom Hilston, NBN News. We may not be able to live by bread alone, but buying all the other necessities of life can add up to quite a bill. But since we have to go grocery shopping, the kindest place in Australia for the hip pocket nerve is apparently Newcastle. According to a Choice survey, an average basket of brand name items such as chocolate, toilet rolls and orange juice costs $64.25 in Newcastle. And the cheapest basket to be found in the Hunter is at the Charlestown Franklin store at $62.19. Adelaide has the second cheapest average, while Sydney worked out at $66.51. Top dollar is paid in Australia's top end. Darwin shoppers are slugged an average of $78.44. Although many Newcastle shoppers, it seems,
above the $64 average when filling the basket.
$200 we pay.
While Newcastle may have the cheapest prices in Australia, shoppers say they need all the help they can get in these recessed times to put food on the table.
When you've got a lot of kids to feed, it is hard.
Here it's pretty good because you can always afford to get a few little extras.
The second year running, Newcastle has been surveyed as the best value shopping centre. Scott Bevan, NBN News.
Police in the Muswellbrook area are still hunting for 31-year-old Wayne Alton Russ. They received reports of numerous sightings, but so far none have been confirmed. Russ was an inmate at the minimum detention section of St Heliers Correctional Facility. He was reported missing at about 10 o'clock last night.
As soon as it was found that he was missing, the institutional search plan was put into effect straight away, and he was then sighted again at about 10:10 on the highway yesterday evening.
There are about 260 prisoners at St Heliers. Russ was one of about 80 in the lowest security section designed for prisoners making the transition back into society. Police say Russ is regarded as dangerous. He was serving a 12-month sentence for drug matters. Wayne Russ is the second prisoner to go missing in a matter of days. A 36-year-old inmate on weekend leave to the Central Coast has also failed to return. However, prison officials say they have no plans to change their assessment procedures for prisoner classification.
We have the strictest of criteria for the people to progress through to here. I suppose there is an element of risk sometimes, but we believe our procedures are very good.
Home for a rest and to regather his thoughts, Sean Crichton still can't believe he won't be running at Barcelona in 11 days' time.
Very disappointed and still quite just trying to fathom the response of the selectors, the decision by the selectors, and come to terms with it. I still can't quite believe it.
Sean failed to qualify for the Olympic track team despite great results at the National Championships and maintaining consistent form. He'd been told his place was almost a sure thing, but he remains baffled by the selectors' decision.
All of us had reasonable form in Europe leading into the Olympics, and it was in black and white from the General Manager of Athletics Australia that athletes who were in the Olympic squad did not have to be re-selected. They had to just show they were in good form and not injured, which those of us who were omitted were. I think the reason why it is so bitter is that I was so close. I was in the village. I was with the athletes who are in the team over in Europe. So if I wasn't so close, I wouldn't be so disappointed.
Sean will probably go fishing with injured flatmate and athlete Simon Doyle, while the rest of the country is swept up in Olympic fever. But Sean remains philosophical about his future.
I might even join him, but obviously I've got such a great interest and love of track and field that I would like to watch it. I'll just see how I feel when the time comes round.